Alright, look, before I begin with the main topic of this video, I want to try and make one thing abundantly clear. I love Sonic Colors. I am a huge fan of the original game. Conversely, I am also hyped for Sonic Colors Ultimate. No matter what I end up saying, I'm still super excited for the game. I like a lot of what I see, and I'm overall happy that the game is enhanced in many ways and is no longer forever shackled to the Wii, or if we really want to bring it up, the Wii U. However, the more gameplay footage that gets unveiled, the more concerned I get. There are just a lot of weird changes made to multiple aspects of the remaster that I just don't understand at all. I'm not wanting to try and sound like I'm just complaining for the sake of complaining here. God knows we already have enough of those videos cluttering YouTube's gutter pipes. I'm just more so concerned and kind of confused as to why these changes are the way they are. And in the end, I'm hoping that these changes at the very least get noticed or addressed in some fashion. Fruitless endeavor, I'm aware, considering how well this has gone in the past. But I suppose it's worth a shot. Screw it, I have writer's block. No transition, just going straight into it, I guess. Let's go. Before I talk about the game as it's being showcased now, I think I'm obligated to talk about the game when it was first unveiled during the Sonic Central showcase back in May. I don't think the reveal by itself caught anyone by surprise, especially considering how much the game was leaked everywhere by so many different sources. What did catch everyone off guard, however, were the visuals. There were a lot of people split on it from what I saw. The most prominent complaints stemming from the over-excessive amount of bloom everything had, and how a lot of stages lacked the vibrancy of the original were overall made a lot darker.
And if these complaints sound familiar, then just you wait, because it's gonna get really spicy later on.
It just looked too radically different in too many ways. Later on, screenshots of Sonic Colors Ultimate started emerging from the Japanese website Famitsu, and what was showcased was a radically different looking game than what was revealed to us in the initial Sonic Central. This version was far closer to the original game in terms of looks, and the darker areas or amount of bloom was noticeably lessened in comparison. Waves of relief began to pour over a collective many, but to me this raised a number of red flags. Why are these so different looking compared to the original reveal? Did they seriously use outdated footage for the trailer? Why? Isn't the point of a trailer to hook people and entice them to get your game by showcasing your product to its best ability? One possible idea many were suggesting was that this reveal trailer was originally supposed to come out in 2020, but was delayed due to the global pandemic, which does make sense at the very least, but it's still rather suspicious nonetheless. Not helping things with the pre-orders being screwed up, the game initially showcased having de novo and an always online internet connection, which very obviously caused a stir, but that was eventually, albeit quietly, dropped. And then the pre-order page specifically showed Steam as an option, but removed that the last minute because it was apparently going to be a last-minute Epic Games exclusive, or at least a timed one as we know now. Needless to say, even when we didn't know anywhere near as much about this remaster as we do now, things were already looking pretty uneasy from the very beginning. Of course, when we started to get full-blown gameplay footage, that's when the concerns really started to kick in. Real quick, I want to give a shout out to this massive thread highlighting a lot of the core issues Sonic Colors Ultimate has so far, made by RadfordHound on Twitter. I think he made a fantastic thread showcasing the bad as well as the good and giving a lot of elaboration on both ends. I'll be summarizing this thread throughout the video, and if you wanted to check out the entire thread by yourself, I'll be providing a link in the description. One of the biggest issues the remaster has is the lighting, and this is something you can easily discern just by looking at screen grabs and gameplay footage. A lot of areas in Sonic Colors Ultimate are far too dark and lack the vibrancy and, well, color of the original. Tropical Resort is the biggest one hit by this issue compared to most others. It's like the color was just sort of sucked out of the place. I can kind of see it as more of a stylistic thing, but I don't know, man. I think it's possible to have better lighting emit from specific areas like this screenshot here, without having the place starting to look like it was attacked by the freaking Time Eater. Also a bit of a nitpick, but why is the Earth missing from this scene? That's like one of the coolest set pieces Tropical Resort has among many others, and it's not even there. The planet shows up in the original reveal trailer with apparent outdated footage, so where did it go here? Also recently, the Sonic Symphony showcased the exact same scene I discussed previously, but with the planet in the background again. And you would think I'd appreciate them putting it back, but that just makes me even more confused. What is going on here? Which one is the outdated footage and which one isn't? I genuinely do not understand any of this at all. In addition, too many areas of Colors Ultimate are far too bright and feel like they lack any lighting whatsoever. Again, Radforhound does a great job at explaining what's going on here if I try to get the basic gist of it. Essentially, the original Hedgehog engine has this lighting effect known as light field, where there are a bunch of these invisible colored dots placed everywhere, and the objects in their proximity are then tinted to match the color emitted by these dots. Basically, this helps create more realistic lighting environments to where objects are colored to match not just the shadows, but the environment around them. It's a technique that helps establish the more advanced form of lighting used in games like Sonic Unleashed and Sonic Generations. With Sonic Colors being on the Wii, obviously much weaker hardware, what they did instead was insert a largish shape like a sphere or... Phew! And everything inside the shape would be tinted to match that color. Despite being a much simpler form of lighting, I'd say it worked out pretty well, honestly. So what exactly is going on here? It seems this effect was removed entirely, which is why you get these weird lighting oddities. Grass and objects in the more shadowy areas glowing for no reason. Sonic's model itself looks like a hedgehog-shaped glow stick. Asteroid Coaster is another good example to point out. You can see just how he's slightly darkened in the original Sonic colors and how he's tinted green just a smidge to match the environment around him. Where in Ultimate it's just... Remember kids, in space, no one can hear you glow in the dark. It's not just that either, specular highlights have also been removed. For those who don't know what that is, specular highlights basically refer to a specific shine that appears on an object in the direction of a light source. It's a tool used to make objects less flat in a sense. You can see the small shine of light on this here spring in the original Sonic Colors as an example, where in Ultimate it seems to be removed entirely. It's the same deal with this dash panel. You can see the specular highlights all around it, and once again it's removed in Ultimate. Okay, why do dash panels glow in the dark now? This is getting a bit ridiculous. Speaking of things that glow, I think it's time to talk about everyone's favorite subject, bloom. Bloom has become sort of this meme effect synonymous with badly made Sonic fan games and the like, but truth be told, it is possible to have an acceptable amount of bloom and to have it enhance the experience rather than detract. The issue is this is not an acceptable amount of bloom in any circumstance, good lord. The bloom used in Sonic Colors Ultimate is way too much, distractingly so I would say. This effect, combined with the darker stage visuals and aesthetics, just makes certain areas look far more washed out than they really should be. Like with this example in Starlight Carnival. Look at it! What even is this? Like, yeah, the disco ball has much more detail than the original, which is nice, but I can barely see most of it because the bloom just overpowers everything. Starlight Carnival in general gets the worst of it from what I've seen, alongside Asteroid Coaster. It's a shame because I think there's some of the best stage themes in the game on an aesthetic level, but it's hard to appreciate it when you go legally blind just from looking at it. This change is probably the more subjective one, as it's an intended effect added and not a completely missing or broken one. But for me personally, it's just way too much and needs to be toned down. I feel it would hugely benefit the game from a visual standpoint. Moving away from the bloom subject, other stages don't look bad but could use some sprucing up. I think Aquarium Park looks alright overall, but the water caustics are reduced and simplified compared to the original, and being underwater just looks muddier and flatter in comparison. This isn't even going over the other actually broken visual effects, like how the wisps are just flat PNGs. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Okay, sure, they were PNGs in the original, but A, they honestly should be 3D models at this stage. They were 3D models in Generations, they can definitely be 3D models here. It would just look nicer. And B, I mean, yeah, they were just PNGs in the original, but at least in the original they faced the camera in the right direction, so it didn't look as obvious. Here, they aren't even trying to face the right direction. Even when they're in the capsule, it just looks way too distracting. This also applies to the giant chain in Planet Wisp where it's facing the wrong direction. It got to a point where I thought there was this giant seam in the skybox, but in reality, it was just the chain facing the wrong way. Wait, huh? I'm being told this is an actual seam in the skybox and not the giant chain in Planet Wisp facing the wrong way. Oh, blind squirrel. I think this error might apply to every billboard in the game, but I'm unsure currently. I don't know, we'll see. Another removed or broken effect you can see is the laser trail being noticeably darker and extremely hard to see, plus the tall glowing line on the HUD that appears when the color power starts to drain has been removed as well. And once again, I have no idea why either of these changes were made. All of these may sound like nitpicks to some, and in retrospect, yeah, sure, they probably are. But you have to understand that Sonic Colors has absolutely phenomenal visuals and a stellar presentation. To many fans, color's visuals are one of the most important aspects of the original game. It gives it such a strong identity with such creative stage themes and environments that, in my opinion, has yet to be matched by any game in the series thus far. Like, you can at least understand where people are coming from when they get concerned that not just the technical aspects are being goofed, but the aesthetics are being changed as well. Also, these are distractingly noticeable issues that seem relatively easy to fix, so I'm at the very least hoping they are by the time the game releases. I've been seeing people refer to this as the Sonic Adventure DX of Sonic Colors, as it were, but like, at least with SADX, the hardware was relatively close together, so you could make an argument that they couldn't get things that worked well on the Dreamcast and have that translate well to the GameCube. Here, Sonic Colors is a Wii title that released 11 years ago. Are you seriously going to tell me that the next generation Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 cannot handle the pure graphical might of the Nintendo Wii? Also, unrelated to my previous tangent, but I need to bring up that there appears to be some sort of loading stutter in Asteroid Coaster and yeesh, I'm definitely hoping that one gets patched before release. Also, what even is this menu? Okay, moving on. Not all of the visual changes are bad, however. Sweet Mountain is the one stage everyone points to as being an improvement, and yeah, it really is. They did a great job with Sweet Mountain. Looking at the Wii version looks so much flatter in comparison to Ultimate. The lighting is superb, the assets used are much higher detailed, it just overall looks phenomenal. But gosh dang it, even Sweet Mountain cannot escape my constant complaining because they just had to bork some things up, didn't they? Such as this rocket that no longer explodes and spreads jelly beans everywhere, it just kind of unsatisfyingly blows up with nothing in it. And yet, the other rockets later in the level spew out jelly beans when destroyed, so why is this one different again? I think the worst offender is the lighting in this part of the level. That was one of my favorite parts of Sweet Mountain aesthetically. You remember a point when you were riding in a car as a kid and went through a road tunnel and it looked super cool with all this orange light everywhere and it was just rad? Oh wait, it's just me. Taking that sort of lighting and turning it blue is really cool looking stuff, but now it just completely lacks the striking blue lighting and it just looks super flat in comparison, and that bums me out. Same could be said for other sections of Sweet Mountain, but this one hits me the hardest. Also, the culling is very obviously screwed up here with the clouds in this scene as well. I'm kinda surprised not many have pointed this out yet, in all honesty. Before I move on, and because I seriously cannot think of a place where I can put this topic, all they're doing for the cutscenes is basically upscaling them to 4K, or at least on modern consoles and PC. I think this is just a super lame way of going about remastering these cutscenes, especially considering they put so much effort into creating tons of new assets and basically replacing every other asset with fully HD ones. So why they're doing just a simple upscale job here is beyond me. The visuals already look so different compared to the original Sonic colors, this is just gonna clash so hard with the remaster as a whole. I'm not sure if they have access to the original animation rigs and if they could just fit them over with the new models and environments, so I may just be talking about things that simply aren't plausible, but I feel remaking the cutscenes would have been a better move here. It's not just visual effects and lighting that's goofed up either, it seems not even the sound is safe anymore. The most obvious sound issue most can point out is the spring sound effect being mixed in with the dash panel sound effect. Well, okay, I confess it's not really super obvious at first, but once you hear it, you can't really unhear it. And the same thing happens when you launch off of Rainbow Rings as well. I don't know if it's an intentional thing or not, it seems more like an intentional thing the more I think about it, but considering it's officially the first Sonic game to do so, I just have to wonder why exactly they did it in the first place if it was intentional. The audio panning is also messed up. The original game used audio panning based on Sonic's original position on the screen, while Ultimate uses the entire camera as basis, and certain audio is hard panned to the left for whatever reason. This particular thread made by Slava Zuzumia, sorry if I mispronounced your name there, on Twitter showcases a lot of these issues, which I will also be linking in the description as well. And apparently the wrong footstep sounds are being used on particular surfaces? I haven't personally heard of this happening, but with every other issue I listed, it honestly doesn't surprise me if it's an actual thing at this state. Lastly, and this is kind of related and is much more of a subjective thing, but I'm really not liking the new remixes made for this game. Like, sure, I haven't heard all of them, and hey, I even like Tropical Resort Act 2's remix, as well as the Aquarium Park remix the social media team posted quite a bit. but Sweet Mountain's remix sounds painful. It's obviously MIDI quality and just feels empty in comparison to the original. There's just less instruments used. I'm unsure if there's going to be an option to swap between the original OST and the entirely remixed version, but I definitely hope the developers will consider implementing one. More options to freely choose between are just better for the game overall. Speaking of which, yes, I feel this segues quite nicely into my next talking point. It's time to talk about the game itself, the gameplay changes, accessibility feature controversies, control streamlining, seeming lack of options, all that jazz. I want to focus on the positives first before I crack on with the features that are more leaning on the iffy side of things. First up, the homing attack change seems really great. You press the button as the reticle turns green at just the right time and Sonic will perform a much faster homing attack, gain a little bit of boost energy and leave behind a cool rainbow effect. I really like how this attempts to give the homing attack more depth. Homing attack wasn't really a hugely intricate mechanic in all honesty. You see a chain of baddies, you press A a bunch and get past the gap. You see a faraway spring or pulley, press A early to lock on and zip over to the target. This adds an element of good timing and gives genuine reward, especially since Sonic Colors doesn't really give you much boost energy to begin with. So rewarding good play by giving the player more boost energy even off of things that don't really give boost energy like pulleys and simple homing attack objects, it's a great mechanic. I also really like the park tokens. They're basically extra collectibles hidden throughout the stage, and you can use them to purchase customization options for Sonic's gloves, shoes, and even his boost aura. I really like customization options in games like these in general. It gives the game that much more replayability and freedom in a sense. Okay, positives over. Nah, kidding again. I don't really want to get super gamer negative on any of these points, just express concerns. The most controversial gameplay change Colors Ultimate has made thus far is the tail save. Basically, lives have recently been considered an outdated mechanic, more and more games have started to remove them entirely, and it seems like Sonic is following suit, with Sonic Forces previously being the first mainline title to do so. So, Sonic can't get a game over in Sonic Colors Ultimate anymore, and he can't collect the extra life icons to increase the life counter since, there isn't one. Instead, you collect items known as tail saves. I remember when Famitsu's screenshots showcased Tails' icon being in the life counter and the fans went wild with speculation. Oh man, does this mean Tails is finally going to be playable in a 3D Sonic game again? It's been so long! Nah, so basically what happens is you find Tails' disembodied head littered around the park, which is honestly more disturbing the more I think about it. You collect it, and you get a tail save. What this basically means is that when you die, instead of restarting at the last checkpoint, Tails picks Sonic back up and drops him off where he was last located, and you continue on your merry way. It doesn't reset your score ring counter either. This is also something that doesn't seem like it can be manually toggled on and off, so people are complaining about essentially having a forced baby mode that they can't escape from. Me personally, I kinda see their complaints. Like, yeah, of course, make that an option that you can turn on and off. Taking away the option is just limiting. Options in general are good to have. But for me personally, here's why I don't think it's that big of a deal. Firstly, come on man, let's not pretend we were originally playing Sonic Colors for the brutally challenging difficulty. The game absolutely showered you in extra lives like it was candy spewing out of a beaten piñata. You never even came close to running out, and if you're someone like me who's MLG pro at video games in general, you would never die any amount, let alone the amount needed to cause a game over. So in all honesty, would these kinds of players even get to see the tail saves in action, or notice the lack of a live system in general? I think not! Sure, some might say it's overkill for adding an easy mode to an already easy game, but to me, more accessibility is never a bad thing to add. Regardless, I still do think it needs to be an option you can turn on and off at will, but I personally don't think it's a huge issue. Moving on, I need to get most of what I need to bring up off of my chest by putting it all under one specific topic. And I did mention this earlier in the video with the remix soundtrack, but to put it bluntly, this game needs to have more options. Remasters in general tend to have a lot of options. For example, the Master Chief Collection allows you to freely swap between the new remastered visuals for specific remastered games and the visuals of the original game whenever you want. And while I don't think Colors Ultimate will do something like this at all, I at least hope they're considering this kind of mentality across virtually everything. Like, we just brought up the tail save feature, that should totally be an option to toggle on and off for sure, but also give us an option for button mapping. Certain previews show that on Xbox, the slide and stomp will be on the X button, which is horrifying. I know why this is, they're mimicking the layout of the original game as played on a Wii Pro Controller Classic, but I must reiterate, this isn't the Wii anymore. There is a reason why the boost control scheme in Unleashed, Generations, and even Forces has been made standard across the board. Because it works. Slide and stomp on B, boost on X, it just feels much more natural. At the very least nowadays you can remap whatever button you want on every modern console, but that's still not an excuse to just completely remove this option from the game altogether. Conversely, how about an option to enable quick stepping and drifting whenever you want as a goal of streamlining controls? I mean, they say they're streamlining and improving the controls and mechanics of the original, but we've never really seen any of that because there have been next to no communication between the development team or the social media team to the general public about this game. We still don't know about the Metal Sonic Racing mode, we still don't know what will happen with Gameland or the Egg Shuttle, and the game comes out in 2 months. All of this also applies to everything else I previously talked about. Bit of a shift in topic, but while we're discussing improvements to the game, why not streamline level design in general? I can 100% assure you as a fan of colors myself, nobody enjoyed the auto-scrolling spring levels that travel upwards, the elevator section in Sweet Mountain Act 4, or the really weird act in Asteroid Coaster where you basically just run laps around a planet sideswiping motobugs for about a solid minute. We've seen in some previews that the devs altered portions of the level design in certain acts to accommodate for the new Jade Ghost Wisp, so at the very least I'm hoping they can improve on pretty much what nobody liked from the original game on that front. I can't say much about the other confirmed gameplay additions like Jade Ghost and the Metal Sonic Race mode like I mentioned earlier, because we know next to nothing about them. No gameplay footage, not really much discussed. They're just there as potentially good or potentially bleh additions, but I haven't really seen any footage, I can't evaluate them at all. I think after describing everything showcased here, all the visual, audio, and technical issues, the lack of options and control streamlining, the botched pre-orders, a complete lack of communication, I'm sure why you can see why certain fans are upset, or at the very least concerned about this upcoming remaster. I wouldn't think too much about these issues because, like I said before, these seem like relatively easy issues to fix, but the problem is at the time of this recording, again, this game comes out in just 2 months. I don't think that's anywhere near enough time to fix or improve everything and release it without a hitch. And hey, you know, I could be completely wrong about everything, maybe it is enough time and everything I said will be addressed in like a day 1 patch or something. But I sincerely doubt that it will. So in a, let's be real here, fruitless attempt at trying to get this message out, I just want to say, please delay this game. Delay Sonic Colors Ultimate. Fix the lighting, tone down the bloom, fix the graphical and audio issues, give us as much options as possible, take your time to really polish it up. I don't even think a huge delay would be necessary, even just like a somewhat small one would be very much appreciated. I know it may just feel like I'm screaming into the void here, and I probably am, but I guess there's really no harm in expressing concerns, you know? There is a small chance that someone may be listening, and that is a chance I'm looking for. So yeah, that's the main point I want to get across. Please delay this game. It may suck that we will have to wait for those baby Sonic keychains longer, but I think the result will be worth it. It just sucks that we can't really get a full-fledged proper remaster of a Sonic game without something screwing up and going wrong. Remasters can often be really great things and a great way to preserve older titles. I mean, heck, Monkey Ball is doing a remaster of 1, 2, and Deluxe, and from the looks of it, they're doing a much better job than Ultimate. They have tons of additional features and options that you can actually toggle on and off for starters, actual player freedom to do what they want with the game experience. I don't mean to go on another tangent here, and hey, if you still like Ultimate and are satisfied with how the remaster looks, then that's totally fine. I completely respect that. I mean, in the end, I'm still excited about the remaster coming out. I just figure it could stand to use a lot more polish and care than what it has now is all. And I think a delay is necessary for that to happen. I don't know how to end this. I got writer's block again.